Okay, this video is about how to dress for men. It's only going to be about for men. I'm going to go into a lot of detail, both from shirts, ties, sports coats, pants, and shoes. Okay, so first of all, sort of why do men even care about dressing nice? To look good for an interview, for getting a job, to attract a woman, or just to be treated better in public, okay? And I'm going to show you real quick how I sort of became interested in this. I went to Stanford for college. I was student athlete of the year. Pretty much all I did was wrestle and study. And I sort of ended up breaking up. My high school girlfriend broke up with me. She sort of disappeared. We were too far away from each other. I was thousands of miles from home. And I never had a girlfriend in college. I mean, I was with my high school girlfriend for a while, and I was with my other high school girlfriend for a while. But most of the time I was single, and I didn't like it. And my brother was kind of a Rico Suave, tall, good-looking guy, my older brother. And he used to tease me, call me Rain Man. First you say hello, then you say how you doing. And when I actually graduated and I came back to my home area, I was a little awkward, and my brothers would tease me. And they took me out to get some clothes and tried to teach me about how to dress, because all I ever wore in college was a wrestling t-shirt, okay? And then a little bit more about understanding women. When you're in high school, what makes you attracted to women is sort of being high status. Okay, I'm only 5'9", but I always had my pick of the girlfriends when I was in high school because I was a great athlete and I was really popular. Okay, but as I got older, especially at Stanford, they didn't care. I was a wrestler. They didn't care about wrestlers, so that meant nothing, literally nothing. Versus if you're a Division I starter on the varsity wrestling team, you're a little bit of a minor celebrity. That's high status. It's easy to get a girlfriend. All right, so anyways, if you go on to social media, the women say they want 666. They want a guy who's 6 foot tall, makes a six-figure salary, has six-pack abs, status job, and he's good looking. Okay, how many guys are like that? Maybe, 1 or 2% of men, not too many, okay? If basically for a man, the shorter, the uglier you are, the more status and money you need to get laid, okay? A female equivalent, how many women are 9+ in looks, plus a good personality, a trust fund, smart? Not too many. All right. Clothes are a tool that you use to decide how other people are going to treat you. So you might as well dress nice because people will treat you better. Basically, when somebody meets a stranger, the first question is this person someone I should talk to? Are they dangerous? Should I avoid them? So the more better dressed you are, the more they think you're an educated, sophisticated, reasonable person. You're not going to rob them, steal from them, or hurt them, okay? So you want that. You want them to feel that they can be comfortable for you, okay? And I know it makes a giant difference. I get totally treated different if I wear a t-shirt versus if I'm wearing a suit and a tie, okay? People immediately feel comfortable with me and are respectful to me if I'm dressed nice. So I usually wear a tie. I usually don't leave my house without a tie. Sometimes I'll do, but not too often. Okay, and I'll also tell you a story about this one guy. He was a real estate guy, sells houses and stuff. And he used to be at the church. And every Sunday he's there. He helps, carry the little handheld basket with the extension pole for people to give their donations around communion time. And everybody knew that he was there every Sunday. He's wearing a suit and a tie. He's a respectable member of the community. And I always thought real estate was kind of stupid. I'd be bored out of my freaking mind, trying to sell a house and dealing with all the stuff involved in that. But the reason I'm telling you this is everybody at the church knew the guy. Everybody knew that he would be there next Sunday and the next Sunday and the next Sunday. And he was dressed nice and he seemed religious. Remember what Voltaire said, I want my doctor and my tailor to believe in God so they do not rob me. So they felt he could be trusted. And the reason I tell you about this guy, he was a multimillionaire. So he looks very humble every Sunday in church. But everybody wanted him to be their realtor because they knew that he wasn't going to disappear on them. They knew they could trust him. They knew that he was a religious man, or at least pretended to be in public. As he got the best deals, the best houses, multimillionaire. Okay, so a pretty smart strategy in life. Pretty damn easy. You don't even need to go to college. You become a multimillionaire, okay? And the other thing, too, is, I noticed, too, like how women judge. You started to see how women judge a man. They see a guy wearing a wife-beater t-shirt, they think he's a lowlife, okay? Doesn't mean he is, but that's what they think. If he's just wearing a regular t-shirt, they think he's young and stupid, or if he's older, then he's poor and ignorant, okay? And you'll also see some guys like the bro signs phonies wearing a t-shirt trying to act like they're like the common man, or the Joe Rogan, Joe Sixpack, I'm the common man, okay? Usually, they're quite different than what they appear to be on social media. All right. Anyways, short sleeve shirts can be okay for a casual setting in the hot sun, but your hairy arms can be kind of ugly too. I'll show you all these clothes, but just kind of getting the warm up here. Dress shirt with a button collar, casual, open collars for ties, all right? So now here is what I ran into when I was in college. Again, I had been used to high school where the athletes was like the highest status you could be. And this is how we dressed in college. We were wrestlers, big muscles, with a t-shirt. I didn't have a beard or a mustache in college, but still, that would be something that I could look like in college. All right, and then we went to this fraternity party. So I hung out with all these athletes. Some of them became professional football players, and most of us did not have a girlfriend. And you know what they say at Stanford, 9 out of 10 California girls are pretty, and the 10th one goes to Stanford. So the women were really ugly, and they sort of hated masculine things at Stanford. It was a very feminized place. There would be articles in the newspaper, the Stanford Daily, about how they thought that football players and wrestlers should not be given scholarships because they were stupid sports that were violent. And you're like, what the hell is this? Normally at a high school, especially the football players are like big celebrities socially, and then the wrestlers, they're way below, but they're still got some status for that. The men who fight defend the reputation of our school. But nope, Stanford, it was no way. Wrestlers and football players were kind of thugs, and there weren't that many fans at the competitions. It's just the way it was. So anyways, I'm just showing you for contrast. I go to this fraternity party where it was sort of one of the rich fraternity party guys, and they're wearing these, shirts with a collar on, and we never wore shirts. We just wore t-shirts all the time, with a collar on it and with a little like Izod preppy logo. And these guys, most of them had like hot girlfriends. We're like, how the hell does this happen? All these guys, we were stuck up. We're like, these fucking wimps got all these hot girlfriends and all of us are single. What the hell's going on here? Okay. So I didn't realize it, but I started to eventually realize it because they look rich. The preppy Izod dressed guys, and we look like a bunch of poor guys. That's just the fact. And so that already starts in college. And women don't really care that much about height in high school, but they do care in college. I actually had some really tall, beautiful girlfriends in high school, but afterwards, the older I got, I learned that a woman won't date a guy who's shorter than her. It's just, unless, you have to make an extra $300,000 for every inch you are shorter than her or something like that. Anyways, so just look at these two guys. This guy wearing a suit and a tie looks rich. This guy looks like upper middle class, and of course this could be what he's wearing to go play golf, but still, the hairy arms can be a bit of a turn off for the woman. As soon as you see a guy wearing a suit and a tie, you think his IQ just went up 30 points, even though that obviously isn't true. That's the gestalt that comes off it. And the fact that he's got a little, kerchief in his pocket, handkerchief, okay, that makes him look like a bit of a dandy. And you think, if this guy's got enough time and money that he's got time for all this BS and a vest, he must be really rich, okay? So people think, oh, it's good to be friends with a rich person. They might get you a job. They might give you money. So you get treated better. It's just a fact. Okay, you might be more likely to be robbed in a bad neighborhood, but you do get treated better. So let's just take a look at these two guys. So here's Charlton Heston wearing a red tie. Red tie is kind of like an alpha tie type of look. He's got a nice suit on. He looks like an alpha male, successful, wealthy alpha male. This guy looks like, poor guy. He's a good-looking guy, but he's probably got a wife beater T-shirt underneath. He's got these ugly, hairy forearms. He looks like a good-looking poor guy. Okay, so just the way he looks. And women, like I said, they care more about your bank account than your bench press. They do. They like muscles, but they like money a lot more than they like muscles. Okay. And also, this guy, he looks like a decent guy, but still you worry, he's a good-looking guy, his hair is all well-groomed and stuff, but still, when he's dressed like that, you worry, is this guy a thug? Is he going to rob me? Is he in a gang? Is he trouble? So people they judge you that way. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's just a fact of life. Later, I read this book, How to Dress for Success, and you have to dress better when you're a doctor and you start doing the clinical rounds. You don't have to dress nice for the first 2 years, basic science, but for clinical rounds, you got to start dressing better, wearing a tie, or you should wear a tie. You don't have to, but you should. So I read this book, Dress for Success, because I wanted to learn how to dress better as well. Okay, and I started learning things about dressing. Like, here's a brief scoop on ties. Basically, if you're going to wear a shirt with no tie, then it's good to have it buttoned down so it's not flopping in the breeze. If you're going to wear a tie, then you want an open collar, because it's a pain in the ass having to deal with the buttons. Okay. Now, if you have a fat face, then having a narrow pointed collar makes you look skinnier. So that is a way you can make yourself look a little skinnier. Okay. Now here is a button-down collar, and this looks better again if you're not going to wear a tie because it keeps the tie down, keeps the collar down so it's not flopping in the breeze. I'll show you examples of what that looks like. Okay, so here's a guy who looks a little bit stupid because he's got no button down on his collar and it's kind of flopping in the breeze. Now, the more handsome the guy is, tall he is, and muscular the guy, the more you can get away with in your looks. But still, you know, if you want to look your best, you got to know these little tricks. They're not that complicated. Anybody can learn this, okay? So here's a guy wearing a button-down shirt, and you see that looks nice without a tie when it's a button-down collar, okay? And I'll also show you, these are sort of the basic colors for shirts. Is a light blue dress shirt or a white dress shirt. White is dressier, but light blue has a little bit more flexibility. So I'm wearing a light blue dress shirt with no button down and a tie, a dot tie, okay? I like the light blue because they don't get ring around the collar so fast. If you have white on the collar, it's a bit of a pain in the butt because, I don't know how well you could see it here, but they get a lot of yellow on there. I don't know if it'll even show up. I don't want to screw my focus up. So white shirts are a pain in the ass because, you know, a good white shirt, organic cotton, that's going to cost like $150, and you're going to get iron staining from the water gets into the collar when you sweat. So that's also a good reminder if you want to lower your iron levels. Good to work out a lot and you sweat it off. So anyways, what I'm saying is a light blue shirt is going to last longer, and I find that it goes with a wider variety of things. But if I want to look dressed up, I'll wear the white shirt, okay, because it is more dressy, it is more formal. Pretty standard. I'm just wearing this this jacket here, this navy blue jacket, okay. Now let's take a look at these guys. I learned something also about clothing, is that black goes well underneath. So here's James Bond, Sean Connery wearing a black tie. It looks great underneath. It's sort of at the bottom. The tie, and it's on a white shirt, so he's dressed very nice, okay. And he's got the little kerchief there, okay. And he's a great looking guy. And he's great. He was the best of the James Bond guys. Okay, so here's Sylvester Stallone, another super alpha male. And again, you can see the black shirt underneath looks good. By the way, this is how Hollywood used to be. These macho, heroic men. Charlton Heston, Sylvester Stallone, Sean Connery, James Bond, Rocky, Rambo, Ten Commandments, Ben-Hur, Mel Gibson, Charles Bronson, Clint Eastwood, you know, Chuck Connors. We had all these macho men, John Wayne. They were heroic, strong, proud men, okay, Christian men, and you looked up to them, okay? That was good. That's how Hollywood was. I watched on TV show when I was a kid the show Father Knows Best. Now, the typical Hollywood guy is like, you know, a homosexual pedophile, okay? It's just a fact, okay? Everything has changed in America. When I grew up, America was great. Now, America's like trying to commit suicide or something. All right, so now let me just show you how these alphas look and things that I think don't look good on a man. First of all, if you wear one continuous color, you look taller. So, you know, if you're real tall, you can wear anything and you're still real tall. But for a guy who's trying to buy an extra inch or two, one continuous color makes you look taller. Having no socks on looks very low class. Okay, when you're a billionaire, you can wear whatever you want. But if you're a regular guy, that makes you look kind of low class. Okay, and the brown shoes stand out different from the jeans, the shirt, and everything else, and the belt. So it really does not look good. Okay, this is like how a typical young, stupid person would dress. All right, and then the pink, you know, it makes you look like you're homosexual, okay? So if you want to look like that, go ahead. You can dress however you want. But you also, you know, remember where I came from. I came from hanging around with wrestlers where every day you have to go in the room, you have to fight a bunch of other guys, and you want to be tough, okay? You don't want to look wimpy, okay? You just don't because you just had to fight all the time. That's all I did was wrestle, fight, go in a tournament in the weekend, a dual meet. And so it was a very macho, masculine United States, okay, back when I was growing up, all right? So anyways, also having your shirt unbuttoned, that looks low class. And it just doesn't look good having your shirt unbuttoned like that. I don't know how to explain it, but it's real tacky. Nobody wants to look at your chest hair. Save that for your girlfriend, okay? The white shoes, totally different than this. I mean, the white shoes being real clean, that can be a little status. Like if you go to a tennis club is kind of a lot of rich people, okay? So it's actually, I think, the best sport for a kid. Play tennis. You'll hang around all these rich people. Maybe they'll give you a job. You'll learn how rich people behave, okay? And that's a valuable thing to know. Because I think a lot of guys, they are not able to get a male mentor, coach, teacher figure to invest time in them because they look like thugs or they behave like a thug. So you want to show I am a sophisticated, reasonable person, and if you invest time in me, you'll be rewarded for it. You won't be punished for it. Okay? Because I've known a lot of rich people, and if you look thuggish, man, they won't even speak to you. They're not going to deal with you. Why should they deal with some little thug? Okay, that's their attitude. All right, so again here's this idea of making yourself look taller or shorter. So the brown shoes, it cuts off the appearance of the pants and the belt, and that goes different from the top. So this outfit makes him look short. This outfit makes him look taller because the black shirt with the black belt and the black shoes and the pants being pretty dark, it looks like one continuous thing. So you look taller. It's just a fact. If you have vertical stripes, you look taller. Now you can see this guy looks taller because he's got black shoes in line with the black pants and the black suit. So that's a good look if you want to make yourself look taller. Okay, now you can accessorize according to what you look like. Like this guy has blue eyes, so he looks especially good with a blue tie or a blue suit. It's just a fact. If you have some characteristic appearance feature, you can accentuate it by, the colors of the rest of your clothes. All right, now here is what I meant too. Those wealthy-looking guys. I always wore, just running shoes. Okay, but the preppy eyes out fraternity guys, they would wear these. These were in fashion. They called them penny loafers at the time when I was a young guy, and they all wore these with these collar shirts with an eyes out. Okay, so that was sort of the rich guy look. They had come from the prep schools. They had wealthy parents and stuff, and they had planned on being wealthy. Many of them were majoring in finance, for example. Okay, I always thought finance was a joke. Okay, I would never consider majoring in finance, but they know more about money than I did. I just thought I'd be rich because my dad was rich. He was a doctor, and I'll just be a doctor. I'm smarter than him. But I didn't learn anything about money. It's good to learn about money. Rich people talk about money all the time. They understand money better than regular people do. It's a valuable thing to know. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about ties. I'm also going to show you some of my own collection of ties. So basically, here's your standard tie about this width or the new standard. These are considered, for all intents and purposes, about the same. As you start getting more narrow, it doesn't look as good. Now you can get by sometimes with that, but this looks a little scummy, tacky. Bolo, maybe if you're a Western guy, it'll work. This kipper thing looks kind of vulgar. So usually you want to be on the conservative side when it comes to ties, okay? Because you're trying to look rich. Rich people tend to be conservative. Okay. Now here is some basic patterns. So here's a standard stripe tie. I used to call them a rep tie, but it's a standard stripe tie. Here is what's called a paisley pattern, which I really don't like those too much. Plaid pattern I kind of like because it kind of reminds me of Scotland, okay? And I like the Scottish look. Dotted ties can be good. A foulard, whatever this is, a maclissio, I'm not familiar with that. And a solid. Solids are surprisingly good. I kind of learned that. All right, now I'm going to show you my ties. Okay, so now I'll show you what I wear. So first of all, I'm wearing a dot tie, and it works because the dots are just a little different than the shirt, and the different shades of blue. I'm wearing a dark navy suit. This is sort of a light navy blue shirt, royal blue, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so let me just go through some ties, and so what am I thinking here? So it'll help you to choose a tie. This is sort of, red, white, and blue. America. Good. Okay, I love America. Especially old America, not this modern collapsing America. Here's a Polish tie. So I'll wear that if I'm around my Polish friends or there's a Polish holiday or something. I love Poland. To me, Poland, Scotland, Ireland, they're all kind of the same. These little countries that got their ass kicked by a nasty neighbor, and so they had to learn to be good Christian countries. Okay, I got a lot of friends from all these places. All right, so here's one of my Harvard ties with the little Veritas logo on there. And this is sort of a nice tie. Not the greatest design, but it's nice. If I really want to look like my highest status, where the heck is my other Harvard tie? That would be my rep tie. Here it is. So like if I'm going somewhere where I think the audience might be hostile to me, or I'm going to talk about something controversial or big, I'll wear this like Harvard tie with a white shirt. That's as prestigious as I can look, okay? And then I just have other ties for variety. Like I like France. So here's like sort of the French, lilies and coat of arms. Forget the darn thing. Okay, I got a variety of red ties because red in a man looks kind of alpha, so you want to look kind of alpha, but you don't want to wear the same tie all the time. So this one with the Eiffel Towers on it looks good. It's a vertical thing, makes you look a little taller. And of course, I love Christianity. The Catholic Church is the greatest institution ever in the history of mankind. So I love wearing this tie here, and I love Italy. So the red is for love. These are the colors of Christianity: faith, hope, and love. So faith is the white, hope is the green, like the resurrection. The green comes out in the spring, and then red is love, or charity, it's sometimes called. So that works great, especially around Christian holidays, Christmas, Easter. I like a little red. We mentioned the alpha concept, and I also like the Scottish, because again, the Scots are the Celts. I'm half Irish, so they all kind of relate. Little countries that got bullied a lot, so they had to be tough, saying, stop bullying us. And so I like them, that they sort of bounce back. And then, of course, you got your seasonal ties. Like right now, we got Christmas just in a couple of days, so I got I'm trying to wear this tie more often, my tie with Christmas. And I love Christmas, and you should stand up for your holidays, man. Winter break is bullshit. That's bleak. That's for slaves, okay? Christmas is our holiday. It's beautiful. We celebrate that. Okay, I love the Greeks. I got a bunch of Greek friends, and I love ancient Greece, and so I'll wear these, sort of blue and white ties. I got a couple of those with different thicknesses on the stripes. And all you need is these basic colors. So whenever I wear red, white, and blue, there's different variations of what stripe is thicker, and they all look nice. And again, these stripe ties, they're relatively formal. They look good. So whenever I'm giving a lecture out of respect for my audience, respect for the subject, I'll always wear a tie, all right? If I'm just doing routine busy work as a doctor, I don't need to wear a tie. And a lot of times it's kind of messy and dirty. I'm doing procedures. I'm wearing scrubs or something, okay? Here's like the solid tie, like a little bit of on the thin side that I don't like, but still solids can look pretty good. A solid blue, like you just saw on Sean Connery. They look surprisingly good. I have a solid purple tie, which I kind of like. It doesn't really show up. For some reason, my camera and lighting makes it look blue. In real life, this tie is totally purple, but it looks totally blue from what my webcam's showing me. That was the idea, that America should be a melting pot. It should be everybody getting along and saying we're all Americans like it used to be, and I hope it'll become like that again. Here's one of my ties. Again, red, white, and blue stripes, but this is really a Puerto Rico tie. You got the little Boricua flag down there at the bottom. Okay, and then here's another dot tie. These are smaller dots than the one I'm wearing, so it actually looks a little formal. When the pattern's a little more subtle and smaller, that actually looks more prestigious. So you sort of judge yourself based on, number one, you want a little variety, but number two, you look at, what is the occasion that you're dressing for. If you're just going to a social event, you want something a little more fun. But you also wear ties that are symbolic to you. I showed you my Harvard ties. I showed you my sort of Celtic tie, and here's like my Stanford tie. Those are the colors of Stanford, the red and the white. Here's the color of the Irish tricolor flag. Okay. There it is, sort of the green for the Catholics, the orange for the Protestants, the white for Christianity. Okay, here's one of my sort of red ties. It's really more of a maroon tie. Maroon works better than a flaming red, and this is sort of the big alpha tie. I'm in a good mood, feeling confident. So that's anyways a general idea of it, but you get it, okay? And I got other ties for other seasons and stuff. When I was young, I would wear more playful, humorous ties, but now I'm older. I'm an old fuddy-duddy, so I don't joke around so much with my ties. Anyways, for the young guys, I hope you found that helpful. It's pretty easy to learn, and you'll have other features. If your hair is light or dark, that'll affect what clothes work well for you. I'm what's called a winter. There's also, you can be, are you a winter, a summer, an autumn, or a spring? Depending on your hair color and stuff. So you can look that up if you want for accessorizing. But basically, you can look at complementary colors versus oppositional colors and figure out what goes well for you. Anyways, that's pretty much how it works. Hope you found that helpful.